shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like life, I'll rise.
I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless.
And welcome to the Black NewsBeat with your special guest, Avila.
Feliz mes de la herencia hispana. Hello, community. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. It's really been an honor to host the past two, and this being the last episode of the Black NewsBeat special edition. I am really grateful to Open Stage. I'm really grateful to Dr. Kimeka Campbell, the production team that's behind the scenes, our bartender here at Open Stage, and everybody else. Thank you, Yanni, as well. Can we get a big round of applause for everybody who's made this come alive? I am really happy to be here. Hispanic Heritage Month has been amazing so far. This past weekend, we had our Bomba y Plena workshop led by local instructors, Brazilian Vibes, also known as the Bombariqueños. It was an amazing workshop. And this coming weekend, we have another 3 events happening Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for Hispanic Heritage Month. On Friday, Latino Improv, Central PA's first Latino Improv group launches on Friday, which we're so excited about. Saturday, we have our traditional wellness and healing circle with Vanessa Codorniu and me, Leslie Avila. And Sunday, we are closing out Hispanic Heritage Month with Café con Pan Part 2, a multidisciplinary, multimedia art and coffee shop experience, which is going to be so beautiful. So today on Black NewsBeat, we have amazing guests with us that are going to be able to share with us their experience being Latino, doing work in the community, etc. And it's also a special episode because tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day, and every day. And I really wanted to honor Indigenous Peoples Day. So our last guest today, Pawatun, will allow us to honor that day and talk a little bit more about indigeneity, etc. In the meantime, here I am to tell you some exciting news. So we're about to sweep the streets, but we're going to be sweeping the world. Okay, first up, sweeping the world. We love to support entrepreneurs. We love to support small business owners, etc. So I'm really excited about this story. Super cool. A Colombiana, born in Colombia, Catherine Zoraida, but she was abandoned at a bus station in Colombia and was dropped off at an orphanage. She got adopted by Scottish parents. Catherine Zoraida's life could have been so different, right? And she talks about that in her interviews. But today, she has one of the top-selling jewelry brands over in the United Kingdom, and she makes jewelry for the princess, Kate Middleton, which is super amazing. She talks about her story, about how just one event led her here. But we're so excited. So congratulations to Catherine Zoraida, all the way from Colombia, being able to make jewelry for Kate Middleton. It's just super amazing. Hear it up. Okay, another entrepreneur we are excited to shout out. Have you guys ever wondered who draws or creates or designs the Christmas stamps that we use on our letters or any mail that we have to send out? In 2024, the person who is designing the Christmas stamps that we're all going to be seeing all around is a Mexican artist. Can we get some noise for this Mexican artist named Michelle? So it's really exciting because she's not only proud to be the artist that was chosen to design these Christmas stamps, but also is proud to show off her heritage as she designs the Christmas stamp. She's super excited to be able to share Mexican culture with the world. So if you go to the post office, you will see Michelle Muñez on those designs everywhere. Super excited for that. Next up on Sweeping the World, we're going to Brazil. In Brazil, I don't know if a lot of people knew this. I actually didn't know this. I might be late on this news, but Twitter, aka X, was actually banned from Brazil because the Supreme Court was really not enjoying all the misinformation that was being spread on X. And actually, Brazil is one of the largest populations to use or consume Twitter. So, but recently, Elon Musk did abide by all of the regulations, let's say, that Brazil's Supreme Court put in place. He banned some Twitter accounts, paid $1 million of fees, and X was now able to be used in Brazil. So Brazil just lifted off that ban from X. So if you're in Brazil right now, probably using X. So that's really interesting, and I don't know your opinion, but that's what it is. Next up on Sweeping the World, we're going to Mexico. So Mexico's politics has been really extremely big in the news right now, and we have a really positive and uplifting story, but we also have a tragic story as well. I'll rip off the Band-Aid. Alejandro Arcos just was sworn in as the mayor for the state of Guerrero in Mexico. And he was actually just found dead on Sunday in Chilpancingo. It's a city that's really known for a lot of the drug trafficking, cartels, and some violence. He was actually just mayor for 6 days when he was found dead this past Sunday. Rest in peace to him and blessings to his family. And on the more positive side of politics in Mexico, Mexico just inaugurated their first woman president after 200 years. Viva Mexico, exactly. Claudia Sheinbaum is a scientist turned politician, 62 years old, and Mexico's first female president. She, in her inauguration speech, mentioned it's time for women. It's time for women to rebuild and to shape the destiny of our beautiful nation. So congratulations to Claudia, congratulations to Mexico for this amazing win, and congratulations to women all over the world. We're close to maybe seeing the first woman president of the United States, and if not, in the near future. And now we're going to media and melanin, some exciting entertainment news for you. We all know that Leslie has talked about UFC nonstop on every single episode of the Black NewsBeat. The Latino representation in UFC is nuts. The Brazilian and Mexicano representation in UFC is even crazier. So UFC 307 just streamed this past Saturday, and the two co-main events were both featured amazing Latino representation, and both Latinos won. So up first, the co-main card. Yeah, shout out to the Latinos who won. The first co-main event was for the Bantamweight Women's Championship title. Juliana Peña was the former Bantamweight title holder, but she got that title lost it to Amanda Nunes, but Amanda Nunes retired, so it was given up to Pennington. Pennington was the former Bantamweight women's title holder. Juliana Peña said, nah, I want that back. She's also known as the Venezuelan Vixen, being from Venezuela, being a mother of a 6-year-old daughter. And by split decision, the Venezuelan Vixen won the Bantamweight Women's Championship title. And the other co-main event was for, I'm blanking on the weight class, but It was Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. And in the fourth round, Alex Pereira from Brazil won with a TKO. Shout out to Brazil. Shout out to Alex Pereira for that amazing fight. Up next in your entertainment news beyond UFC, we're going over to soccer. Brazil was picked to be the 2027 Women's World Cup FIFA location. Shout out to Brazil. This is actually a first for South America. South America has not yet held a FIFA Women's World Cup championship in our country, so in our continent. So super excited for Brazil. USA and Mexico had bids in a collaboration to be able to host the Women's World Cup, but they dropped their bid. Who knows why? So it was between the Netherlands and Germany and Brazil. And FIFA's full membership was actually, I think it was the first time in a while, FIFA's full membership was actually able to vote on this, and Brazil was the one that won. So if you're into women's soccer, the USA women's soccer team is amazing, better than the men's soccer team. And so if you go to 2027, you're ready for that, tune into Brazil. Along with that as well, for some FIFA World Cup news, the FIFA U17 Women's World Cup will actually take place in Dominican Republic from October 16th, which is next week, to November 3rd. That's the first time Dominican Republic will hold a FIFA tournament, the U17 Women's World Cup. So stay tuned for that as well. Up next for your entertainment news, real entertainment news. If anyone is into Mexican music and Mexican artists, Angela Aguilera just turned 21 yesterday, which is crazy because she started singing when she was like 15, 16. So she just turned 21, and her new husband, Cristian Nodal, showed out for her birthday, creating like a live concert for her, had fireworks and everything. And I went in deep on the juicy gossip over their relationship, Cristian Nodal and Angela Aguilera's past relationships and all that nonsense. But we are happy for them. So happy birthday to Angela Aguilera. We love your music and you're legendary in Mexican culture. Okay, last but not least, the Premios Billboard de la Música Latina is coming up here shortly. 2024's Billboard Música Latina coming up here. So make sure you tune in for that. And we have some amazing qualifications. Something I thought was really fun. Tour of the Year. RBD is up for Tour of the Year. I don't know if anybody knows, but RBD hasn't been on tour in years. But they just did a reunion tour. I went to one. It was so exciting. It was so fun. So they're up for Tour of the Year in comparison to Bad Bunny and Karol G. We also have Artist of the Year. Bad Bunny and Karol G are up neck and neck. We love some Karol G and we love some Bad Bunny. I don't know who's gonna win. We also have Ovi on the drums. Ovi on the drums up for Producer of the Year. Super cool. And last but not least, we have a really cool artist that came up from nothing and has really made her way to the top. Cali Uchis is Colombiana, and she started producing her own beats. She started writing her own lyrics, making her own music, and now she's at the top for Hot and Top Female Artist of the Year. I love Cali Uchi's story, love her new album, love her music. So we'll see who wins, if she wins any of those. And that was it for your Media and Melanin. And to close us out before our amazing guests come on, this show is obviously a partnership between Open Stage and YPOC. Shout out to YPOC, everybody. And so YPOC has their monthly happy hour every single month, except November and December because we have our holiday parties. But our last happy hour of the 2024 year is in October, and it lands on October 31st on Halloween itself. So we are having a little fun Halloween costume. I invite you out October 31st at El Rancho off of Eisenhower Boulevard here in Harrisburg for our Halloween happy hour. El Rancho has amazing food. It has amazing fresh Mexican food, authentic Mexican food. So I'm super excited if I see you there. Also, this wouldn't be a Spanish show without talking about food. So this is for those of you who say there's nowhere to eat in Harrisburg. You're lying. Okay, you know the best food comes from those places in the nooks, like in the places where you wouldn't want to walk at night, or in the places where you think you're gonna roll up to abuelita's like house or like kitchen. Listen, if you've never been to this place, El Pulgarcito de América, Pupuseria, is on Berry Hill Street. These ladies have turned this little nook into the most amazing food. One of the best pupusas in Harrisburg, some of the best tamales, really delicious. They're El Salvadoreñas, El Pupuseria, El Pulgarcito de América. Go check it out if you haven't. If you think you're in the wrong place, you're in the right place. It just looks a little sketch. And last but not, two more places for y'all. El Coqui is on 4th Street, right here in downtown Harrisburg. YPOC held our happy hour there last year for Halloween. So it's been a whole year that we've been really big fans and patrons of this restaurant. Delicious Puerto Rican food, amazing. Go check it out. And El Verdadero Sabor de Mexico on 17th and Dairy Street. I know a lot of you may have been to Los Tres Hermanos or El Sol or Fiesta Mexico, but I promise you, El Verdadero Sabor de Mexico means the real flavor of Mexico, and it really is delicious. I know the lady who owns it. I know the people who cook it. They have amazing camarones, aka shrimp, and guacamole, so make sure you check them out as well. And that was it for me, everybody. I will stop talking so much. Thank you to everybody who stayed so far. Up next, we have our amazing guest. Our first guest is Chef Eli. He's been the Puerto Rican chef behind all of our Hispanic Heritage Month events, and he's here to talk to us about what's coming up. So I'll see you in a second.
La Tiendita is Harrisburg's premier store for everything Ecuador. In this store, you will find a variety of cultural and traditional products and ingredients like chocolate that you can't find anywhere else in Harrisburg. La Tiendita also ships packages directly to Ecuador. If you have any family or friend, you can also do a direct money wire transfer to their bank account in Ecuador. La Tiendita is open every morning at 8:30 a.m. and you can find them at 3126 Sycamore Street right here in Harrisburg.
Up too, so don't be worried about messing up. Do it again. Welcome back for those of you who are live or watching from home another day. And for those of you who are live here, thank you for coming to the show. We love having live guests. As I mentioned, this is the last live show. So if you wanted to catch me, you missed it, you suck, but it's okay. This will happen again. So thank you, Chef Eli, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I love your cooking, your chef that is really admired here in Harrisburg, Central PA. A lot of people out of the city in Philadelphia know who you are. So, Chef Eli, why did you start cooking and why do you love cooking so much?
Well, I started cooking.
What's up with your story? Who are you?
Okay. My name is Chef Eli. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, from Caguas, Puerto Rico. And I moved to Harrisburg 6 years ago. And, since 2020, when everybody got laid off after the pandemic, well, I started Coqui Latin Cuisine, and it's a traveling chef service that I've been bringing to a lot of tables around Pennsylvania
Amazing.
for almost 3 years.
That's awesome. So you started 3 years ago with the company.
Yeah.
And why did you start cooking? Like, did you just start cooking 3 years ago, or have you always loved cooking? Was this familial that you started cooking? Okay.
I mean, the reason why I love cooking is because I like eating. Like that's the simple answer.
Yeah.
So I love good food, so I try to cook good food.
Nice. So your food kind of has like this like traditional, really authentic style, but you also you upscale it too. So what has that process been like? Like what you wanted to keep it authentic, but también do something more like
I mean, authentic is the sazon that I have, but I try to, think beyond what we have traditionally,
Yeah.
like do like different and elevated classics from Puerto Rico, or
Nice.
turning Puerto Rican food into really good vegan food.
yes.
Uh,
You do an amazing job at that. This man, on this past weekend, we had the Bomba workshop, as I told everybody, and you made croquetas that were vegan. And I was sad because when you said we have croquetas, I'm like, oh, ham, cheese, I'm not gonna be able to eat it. And then you said, nah, there's vegan ones, and they were delicious.
I
So,
mean,
like, you do a good job at that.
I don't consider vegan food my specialty, but I try to bring that, Puerto Rican sazon into vegan. And thankfully, I've been successful, bringing some, good flavor and sazon to vegan, because, a lot of people think like vegan food must be like bland or
Yeah.
unexciting.
Yeah.
But I try to do a lot of, like an authentic flavor, but, try to elevate it
That's
to,
awesome.
to do something different and to do something, exciting,
Yeah.
not what everybody, does usually.
That's awesome. And I didn't tell you I was going to ask this, but your abuela, you want to make like a dinner named after her.
Well,
Can you tell us a little bit about that goal? I think it's really beautiful.
I
No
mean,
tanto, not as
no,
much as you want.
we're still working for probably next year to do like a maybe every other month supper club. And, I name it after my abuela, which she took care of me when I was, like a small kid and a baby. And her name was Filomena, and she was from Canteras in Santurce, Puerto Rico. And I want to honor, my abuela with that. And we're trying to do like very, really locally sourced, elevated Puerto Rican food, and try to, the reason behind that is because I do partner with a lot of like local farmers and local products that I use. And I want to do a dinner to highlight those farms and those products that I work with.
That's awesome. When did you start working with those farms? Has it always been like a goal of yours to like work with like local produce, like fresh?
My big goal is to actually try to source at least 75% of everything locally.
That's amazing.
Instead of, just going to a random like supermarket and get it. And
Yeah.
I do work with, a couple farms really close, and I want more farms to partner with me too. And we can do exciting things. We can do seasonal stuff. We can do farm to table. And I've done before farm to table, and it's one of the most exciting things, because
Yeah.
it's like cooking with the season, and, try to mold that, what the earth gives you into something, really delicious, really, and, try to elevate that products, and what you get, or even products like local cheeses, local wine, and just try to incorporate that like local brands into that dinner and highlight them. That's my by my vision behind it.
Yeah.
Like, let's say a local baker,
Yeah.
we, bring a local baker and we talk about the bread and we talk about this is from a local baker. Here's some of his story, whatever, people want to share. And this is why this product exists, or this is why, this farmer does what he does.
Does that excite you, like learning about that stuff?
Yeah, I'm always, I'm a food geek, I would say.
Okay, cool.
So I love to talk about food and to talk about the processes behind food. All this stuff, pickling, fermenting,
Nice. Yeah.
all the stuff is so interesting and exciting, at
That's
least for me. And as a chef, I think a lot about, I think everything in terms of food. Like I always thinking about food, or how can I get a product and kind of transform it into something else, or
That's cool.
different processes so the product can be used in a most meaningful way, just not an afterthought.
That's awesome. That's super exciting. So you have you had a couple menus with our previous events that we did. With Bomba y Plena, you had some empanadas, some croquetas, some like traditional Puerto Rican
Yeah,
food.
we did ham croquetas, croquettes or croquetas. We did variety of empanadas,
Yeah, they were so good.
like chicken and beef, cheese. We have the vegan croquetas that was
Good.
actually sourced from a local farm, which is called The Hill in Harrisburg. And they try to work a lot with food security, which is kind of like an advocate for that too, for food security. And
Nice.
that's why I do a lot of like cooking classes for seniors and for families.
Can
And that's
someone join a cooking class right now that you have? Do you have any cooking classes like coming up?
I the next one, I think they all signed,
Oh, cool.
completely signed on
Nice. That's
right now, which
awesome.
is awesome.
Okay.
The last one we did was in, through Dauphin Country Library System in
Oh,
Hamilton Hill.
nice. Yeah, they're great. Cool beans.
And, try to, meet people where they at and, make food accessible to, to our community
Yeah.
that really needs it.
Yeah. And this coming Sunday, we have Café con Pan Part 2. So are you excited about that menu? Like, can you give us a sneak
I'm
peek, like what
very
you
excited.
got coming
Yeah,
up?
I got,
I know it's like a Latin-inspired brunch. And so this is obviously like Hispanic Heritage Month events have been and are free this weekend. So thanks to our sponsors, thanks to everybody who's been working so hard. So we have a Latin-inspired brunch on Sunday.
Yeah.
What you got?
we got quesadillas. We have like breakfast quesadillas. We have uh, mini cubanos. We're gonna do like
Okay.
a cubano sliders.
That's exciting.
We're gonna do quesitos, which is something that we don't find here enough.
What
Which
is it?
like it's puff pastry with like cream cheese inside, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
very traditional. It's a very traditional Puerto Rican breakfast
Oh, okay, dale.
and a treat too, obviously. We're gonna do guava pastelitos, which is like the traditional like square pastelitos with guava inside.
Delicious.
Puff pastry as well. We're gonna have some like bread from different countries as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have
And-
some pan tradicional de Mexico. We're gonna have some Mexican concha bread, and then also on Sunday we're gonna have some típico ecuatoriano bread, specifically sourced from some local bakers. So super excited about that. Café con pan. You can't have café without pan, so we'll make sure we have some pan there for everybody along with the food. That's amazing. So my last question for you is like, what has been the most fulfilling part of cooking with Hispanic Heritage Month? Like, feeding people or making the menu or
The
just-
team, which is awesome.
The what?
Like, the team is one of the most fulfilling things. And obviously, we're sharing culture through food. That's a big thing for me as well.
Yeah.
And to do something from Latinos to Latinos with the support of, YPLC and our other sponsors, It's been like a dream come true. I think that was the most fulfilling part.
Yeah.
Like to do something from Latinos to Latinos and present it, and everything worked out.
It did. And we're about to be done. We did great.
Yeah.
That has been really fulfilling for me too. And I forgot one last thing. Are you still doing the community spice drive? Do you want to tell everybody so everyone can know how to take action, what to do?
Yeah. We're doing, aside from everything that we're doing a community spice drive with Elementary Coffee and Love the Hill, the organization that I just talked about. And we're trying to gather spices before Thanksgiving to give to the community in their harvest party October 19th. And we're trying to gather some spices until October 16th, which is, we're pretty close.
You got a week.
Hopefully somebody.
Yeah.
And you can drop we can drop up the spices in Elementary Coffee. And so we can give, to those spices to a lot of people that needs it in the, in the Allison Hill community.
Yeah.
And, trying to do something different because, my thought process behind it was a lot of people do kind of give food in Thanksgiving. So might as well just try to get people to, stuff to season the food with. So that was and it was inspired by, by a chef from Michigan, and hopefully we can get whatever we can get. We're grateful, and you can drop off at Elementary Coffee or check it on my Instagram at Coqui Latin Cuisine, and there's gonna be a pinned post of the spice wrap plus everything that we do on a regular basis.
Well, you're amazing, and thank you so much for sharing your love of food. Your food is bomb, and I'm so excited for everyone who hasn't tried your food. If you're coming to Café con Pan Part 2 on Sunday, you'll be able to try Chef Eli's amazing, delicious menu that he has. And he really doesn't give himself enough credit. Like, this man is like the thing, the real deal, the only deal out there. So thank you so much, Chef Eli. Up next, our next guest is Daisy Vega, who is a puertorriqueña taína que está en la comunidad, in the community, just doing good work and experiencing life, and just she's so amazing. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her. Thank you, Chef Eli. We'll see you in a second.
Helen Peguero is a Latina teacher with a specialization in bilingual special education. With a passion for supporting children from immigrant families, she helps them embrace their identities amidst the diverse cultural landscape of the U.S. Her bilingual children's book, Elena and Her Curly Adventures, aims to teach young readers the importance of self-love and acceptance. Through her work, she empowers children to celebrate their uniqueness and thrive in a multicultural world. To purchase Elena and Her Curly Adventures, you can visit Amazon or www.helenpeguero.com.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Mi nombre es Néstor Romero. Nuestro objetivo es el servicio a la comunidad que desea tener su casa propia. Contar con un hogar es muy importante para nosotros, por ello estoy preparándome cada día más para servirles con todo profesionalismo y responsabilidad para que ustedes y mis clientes se sientan satisfechos con mi trabajo. Junto con mi equipo estamos listos para prestarles todos nuestros servicios. Nuestro equipo puede orientarles y llenar sus expectativas de todas las personas interesadas en comprar y vender una casa. Cuentan con mis conexiones, inspectores, prestamistas, constructores y carpinteros quienes están dispuestos a hacer realidad sus sueños, si se puede.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for still being here. Shout out to the live audience who hasn't left yet as well. Feliz mes de la herencia hispana, mi gente. It is literally... And I I've talked to, I make little comments about, that word Hispanic or Hispanic Heritage Month or being Latina and Latinx and all these labels to really identify us. And, sometimes we don't feel identified with it at all. Sometimes we, intersect with different parts of us, different parts of our culture and our family and our roots. So, just a gentle reminder, being Latina, being Hispanic doesn't look one sort of way. And it really is up to each and every single one of us, each individual person, to express and to share with the world, what does being Hispanic mean to you? Or how has being Latina shaped your life? What is your culture growing up? And so thank you so much, Daisy, for joining us today. I feel like you're really at this intersection of, and I don't even know if it's an intersection, right? I think this is a great, conversation, but of being indigenous and these indigenous roots and indigenous culture, but then also growing up in like Latino Hispanic culture. And I think they merge into one, right? But there is definitely a distinction in name and in culture and upbringing as well. So yeah, I introduced you as identifying as Taína. So do you identify as Taíno? And for those who don't know, like, what is it to be Taíno and what does that mean and how does that look like in your life?
Well, thank you for having me here. I identify as Taína, but I also have it's a tapestry, when we look back at it, it's just a very diverse people. And the Indigenous Peoples Day, along with the Hispanic Heritage, it just highlights the rich cultural tapestry of the Taino roots as well as the Puerto Rican culture for me.
That's amazing.
It's a blend, and
Yeah.
this intersectionality for me is it it fosters that it's rooted into my ancestry, and it developed just a curiosity to know what happened, like where, like I want to know more about my grandparents.
So when did
and my
that start for you?
great-grandparents.
That curiosity.
So for me, I was born in Puerto Rico, and I came to Philadelphia at the age of 9 with my parents and my older brother. And I lived in North Philadelphia, so it was a diverse group of people, mainly Puerto Ricans, but they weren't the Puerto Ricans that I knew in the island.
Yeah.
So that
true.
there, just having to identify that. So it was like 3 worlds.
Yeah. I mean,
The
yeah.
American
yeah.
world, you have, America, USA,
Yeah.
then you have what's in the communities, and then you have what you have at home.
Wow.
So
That's so true. Yeah.
yeah,
For everybody.
so for me, my parents raised me in a very cultural way, and the traditions remained the same, and no matter where we went or where we lived, that remained the same.
Yeah.
So that kept me grounded and rooted to my Taino heritage. And just the Puerto Rican culture is just, it also highlights that vibrant music, the community values, and as well as I'm sorry, it's just gonna.
No, that's okay. It is a lot.
Yes, it is. It's a blend of just a beautiful mixture, because if we know the Caribbean is just not, it's not Puerto Rico. We also have African in there. We have Jamaican. We have the Dominican Republic. We have Haiti.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful, diverse world,
Yeah.
and that just alone has shaped my worldview and how resilient we have been, and the diverse narratives that shaped our identity. So
That's beautiful.
all of that together has brought me to where I am today. And my Taino roots instill this love for the land and nature, whereas my Puerto Rican side, it has this this love for music, this love for art, this love for community, family structure, to continue to pass down the traditions of our ancestors and to continue to build together.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, I think that's like how and why they intersect and they come together, because like what does it mean to be connected to our roots? Is it our roots from home, or is it our roots from the community? And I think the most important question is like, how does it shape us? So like how has it shaped you? Like what are some of the beliefs or the values that you've instilled that's then created you and the person you are today, like what you do in the community, or what you offer to people when you just talk to a stranger? It could just be, you know, like, if that making sense.
It makes sense.
Okay.
For me, I feel that working with community, having to speak a second language, and also teaching my parents and having to translate for them in doctor's appointments or any other places that we had to go. It's just the language barrier and all the different necessities that we had to research for and not having it easily available, the resources. So just growing up, seeing what the community did not have. And when I went to other places and other nearby communities and they had that we did not have. It's a curiosity of what is the unfavoring in our communities and what it is that we need to do so that we can create these structures for the children and the generations to come. So I feel that just learning my own, just learning with the community, with my neighbors in school, my classmates, it was a need. We needed a lot of things, and I grew up just, you know, I'm gonna help my community and I'm gonna find out what it is that we have not been given, what is not written in our history books, what is not easily, you know, available to us, that has been oppressed in many things and people as well. So for me, it's just that resilience and being able to share not just one identity, but share that cultural and blend, you know, because I feel when we identify, I can't just identify with one thing.
Yeah.
When I have a bunch of, you know, different DNA and roots in my Taino heritage.
Yeah.
So I
For sure.
I've been able to observe. That made me be observant of my surroundings. And you know, I went to school to be a healthcare administrator, so I've been working.
Yeah, tell us about that. I love your story about that.
Different organizations throughout over 15 years now, because once I graduated high school, I went straight into the healthcare industry, and I wanted to help. I just wanted to help people.
And how did the healthcare industry work out?
It went out well. It worked out well, but it's very, again, unstructured.
Yeah.
Especially in our communities, and especially in Philadelphia. It was always a necessity. It was always a research. It wasn't just available to us. And that made me feel like I want to continue to share information, because that is knowledge, that is wisdom that continues to be passed down.
Yeah.
And we should continue that. Although it was not done to us, we should start to pick these rituals and practices, of whichever they are, that, you know, you can identify with, no matter what it is, and learn to observe not just your surroundings, but yourself. And then, you know, you get to hear so many things and learn so many things, not just about yourself, but everything around you as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So is that one of your passions, like working with kids and making sure that kids are educated about their roots and, you know, about where we come from and our ancestral practices and traditions?
For me, I didn't grow up with much family, so it was always about community. But community showed it was challenging because we were all navigating.
Yeah, for sure.
So it
Always.
just didn't, for me, it wasn't the best experience.
Yeah.
So I had to start creating these spaces that I felt safe in. And I noticed again, observed like what it was that we needed. And I became like just this person that I called in people that eventually needed some assistance, and we connected in that way. And the children, I was a mom at the age of 21.
Yeah.
And my neighborhood was always kids, so I was always playing with the younger kids, and it was just something about loving the kids. I mean, I'm a big kid myself.
Yeah.
It's part of what I will continue to do now that I have two children. I have a 5-year-old son, and he's changed my world once he came in 5 years ago.
Yeah.
To again observe the school systems and the school districts and what all the challenges I went with my daughter and what I know I don't want for my son.
Yeah.
So that is my passion, is to just work with community, to work with the people, but I am focusing now on the children.
Okay.
Because the children we're losing our children. We all know that. And if we look into Philadelphia and its history, it continues to get a little more violent.
Yeah.
And we're losing our children. And I feel that I am being called, and there is a necessity for us to focus on the children.
Is that a project that you're working on right now? Is like,
Yes.
okay. Do you want to tell us about the project?
Yeah. So this project came to me because I am homeschooling my son. I made the decision that I am not going to put him in the school district. I went through enough challenges with my daughter, and I still don't feel the Pennsylvania school district offers what it is that I'm looking for my children, especially my son now that's beginning the school age.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for co-op communities. And
Homeschooling
places.
co-op communities.
Yes, homeschooling co-op
That's awesome.
communities. And I don't find what I need.
Yeah.
What my son it's interested.
So you decided to create it.
Yes. So I'm being called to create a children's program, but the children's program just isn't any children's program. I'm doing this in the honor of our ancestors, the ones that were here before us, as well as incorporating the social and emotional learning that we already have. So intertwining those two and just nurturing the holistic development of the children, not just basic children development, which is what we have everywhere.
Yeah.
But the holistic comes in with
what does that look like? Yeah.
Of the baby being in the mother's womb.
Okay.
And it comes from prenatal all the way until the parent gives birth, and then that into community and learning to nurture, which is what our ancestors did.
100%. I mean, we weren't stressed out with all this other BS, so we had the space to really build family and to really know who we were, and these stories were passed down, these traditions. So that's amazing. So is there a location for this children's program that you're working with yet, or no?
There is not a set location yet or time, but it will be near Philadelphia.
That's amazing.
I feel like it's more up near the suburbs.
Okay.
Of Philadelphia, but the goal is to introduce and work with different communities so that we can spread and share these different curriculums.
Nice, because you're creating the curriculum then too.
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. That's so great. Is there anything like remaining that you want to make sure you share with anybody who's trying to get in touch with their roots, or anybody who's raising a child that like wants them to know and be connected to something bigger, to earth, to spirit? Is there anything you'd like to say to them? Any piece of advice or anything that you...
For me, I just started with meditation and breath work. And I feel that before you can choose or pick or identify yourself with some kind of model that has been shared with people, whether it's a belief system or some kind of more of a holistic approach to the healing journey, it would start with yourself. And the best, what I have learned in my past 9 years of my wellness journey was to ground myself. And the best thing that I found was breath work and meditation. And meditation does not have to be sitting down, like Zen. It can be yoga, it can be dancing, it can be somatic movement. So just different, there's so many different modalities or, techniques in that. But that is the number.
That's beautiful. You can't help anybody if you haven't helped yourself. And that's so cliche, and I hated when I used to hear it before, but it's so true, like really. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us about you and the work that you're being called to do. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Daisy. We will have our last guest, Pawatun, come on with us shortly in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day tomorrow, along with Daisy. So thank you so much for being here and sharing with us your roots. See you in a second.
Leslie Avila just published her book, Journey to Freedom, and states, if you love women, read this book. And if you hate women, read this book as well. Have you ever seen such eyes? These eyes so wise, these eyes that mesmerize. You're invited to grab a cup of delicious, delightful hot tea while you read this book in order to enjoy to its maximum capacity. Welcome to my delightful world. I invite you to leave your world behind and step into mine for just a period of time. This book was written for you. You can purchase it now at delightisfull.com.
For being on.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for staying. I feel like we're really having some like deep, heartfelt conversations. And I used to have a podcast called Perspectives Podcast, soon to be renamed and recasted and with a big comeback. But, I really enjoy listening to different people's perspectives. I feel like that's the best way we can grow. And so I feel like today's show has been really, really, really beautiful and deep in different ways. So thank you so much for coming on. I know our conversation is about to be on a whole nother level. This is my dear friend, Pawatun Chi Amaru.
Yes.
And could you introduce yourself to everybody? I mean, like, I really feel like the introduction is also for me because I'm like, what do you do? Like, what don't you do? What do you do?
That's a great question.
Who are
Thank you.
you?
First of all, thanks for having me, Leslie. I really appreciate being here. I enjoyed all the guests so far. Everybody was awesome. It was absolutely incredible hearing about everything that's going on all around us, and it's good to spread that information. What I do is I teach tribal education to the misnomered. And what I mean by the misnomered, many of us in American culture, in this environment in which we exist in, are identified or misidentified. And we need to understand our roots, where we come from. We need to trace that information to be able to identify ourselves properly so that we can understand our heritage. We can celebrate our heritage. We can get back to our dietary laws. We can get back to our cosmology and understand what the constellations were when we were born and how that impressed upon us and our offspring. That's indigenous culture, you know? So
100%.
in what we do, what I do, I say we because those who work with me,
Yes.
is we attempt to instill again this spiritual identity of our community. And so we had to reach back, you know, we had to reach way back in order to find that identity. And so once we were able to locate somewhat of an origin, then we have to come up from that origin and begin to dismantle the mistruths, if you would, the lies, the deceit that's been placed on top of so much history. So now we have to erase the revisionist history and bring in the actual history. And sometimes that information can be so shocking that many of us don't resonate with it right away because it's so diverse to what we accustomed to hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when did you start? Like, how did this path start for you? Like, I know there's a bunch of, I know people that want to connect to their roots, don't know how, want to connect to soul, spirit, can't find the way. And it's all been difficult, right? We all on our path, you know, we find the way. But would you mind sharing how did that start for you?
How did it start for me? Well, I was blessed, to use that word. I was blessed. I grew up with my grandparents, my great-grandparents in my vicinity. So I was able to sit on my great-grandmother's knee, on my paternal, both sides, and really listen to and be reared by them. I often tell this story to my students, you know, when I was a boy, I grew up in Nesmond County. Nesmond is the Indian tribe of Virginia. And now today, the county is still there, but it's called Suffolk. But before it was Suffolk, it was Nesmond County. And before it was Virginia, it was Nesmond. You understand? So this identity has been present in the Americas since there was an America, or before there was an America. You understand? So when I was a boy, I tell this story all the time. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, I called her Big Mama. She would say, "What do you want for dinner?" And I would say, "I love chicken." She says, "I want some chicken, Big Mama." And she would say, "Well, go out there in the yard and get me one." So it wasn't in the freezer. It was in the yard walking around. So I had to go and get it.
What a blessing.
Right. I had to take its life so I could feed my life. And that explanation came from her. Why she told me to do that. That's cultural. That's identity, you know. No one in our culture, many people in this country are misnomered African Americans, right? In Virginia, for example, where I was born, there was a guy named Walter Pleckler. P-L-E-C-K-E-R. I don't want you to get that correct.
Okay.
So when you research him, you can see the atrocity, the genocide that he committed in his working for the Census Bureau in Virginia, somewhere around 1940s. He, with a stroke of a pen, erased the Indian identity of all people who were mixed race. With a stroke of a pen, he erased us, and made us Negroes. Well, we know, those of us who speak Spanish, we know negro, zapato means black shoe, which I have on today, right? But that's an inanimate object. It is not, there's no life in my shoe. So you can't call a human being a negro and expect him to still feel that he's a human being. He's been cut from his culture. He's been cut from his identity. He's been cut from who he is, who he truly is. So he has to reconnect with Jasolas, the soil. He has to reconnect with Sanguis, the blood. Right? And where we get that from? I got that from my grandmother.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
And many
really
of us are grandmother killers.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially in the so-called, and I say so-called African American because that's a misnomer. But in the African American community, so many of us were told by our grandmothers that we were Cherokee, that we were Muskogee, that we were whatever native tribe was on that coast that we come from. But because we were miseducated in the educational system and told that we were Negroes and told that we were slaves or that we were descendants of that, that is not always true. All of us were not slaves. There are free people of color in Virginia that have a separate identity and that needs to be told as well. So there's a lot of information here that we can't bunch into one section.
It's a
I get
lot.
really excited about it, but there's a unity amongst our people
Our
because
people, as in.
our people, I mean indigenous people, regardless of where you're from, we are indigenous. We are aboriginal people of the planet. I don't care if you're from America. I don't care if you're from the Caribbean. I don't care if you're from Africa. I don't care if you're from Australia. I work with families in New Zealand, helping them to find their cosmology again.
Yeah.
You know?
We all had our.
I'm working on yours now, as you know.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
We all had our traditional, rooted, ancestral traditions, culture, practices.
Right.
We've been ripped from them.
That's right.
And even using the word, like I sometimes use it because I'm running fast, but like even using the word white, like the white person or the white man or the white woman is like, it's really uneducated, right?
That's
because
right.
like white is nothing but
Right.
a color. And so
Right.
like, where are people coming from? Where do we come from? All of us come from somewhere. What does that mean for you? And how has it been working with families who are reconnecting with their roots? Like, how do you start that process?
Well, may I address the white issue?
Please.
These are political terms, and we have to understand that. These are political terms. No human being is white. No human being is black. Have you ever seen a black person? I mean, physically. You see dark brown, many dark hues, deep dark reds. Even the people in Sudan are dark, 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 but they're still brown. You see? So these are political terms, and they have different meanings when people speak in courtrooms and they use a language, it's called legalese. And so when they use legalese, you can look these words up. Look up white, look up human, look up black. They have a different meaning in a court of law. And that's why we have bits and pieces of truth that we have to reassemble the truth that we can live free and at peace in our souls and truly have that connection as humans.
And how have you started that? How do you start that process with families or with peoples?
Well, the success we've had was beginning to ask people, what did your grandmother tell you?
Nice. Yeah.
See,
You gotta go
one of
deep
my
into
dear
those
friends,
memories.
I didn't get permission to say her name, so I won't, but one of my dear friends, she talked about grandma killers, you know, and that was an ideology that we were indoctrinated with in the school systems, you know. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather worked hard in this country, you know. They worked hard to have land, to have a history, to give something to us, and that came from indigenous origins. No one in my family ever said that they were from Africa. And I'm not saying that I don't have African heritage. I'm just saying that wasn't the predominant talk. The predominant talk in my family was that we were from Virginia and that we were indigenous to that part of the earth. So when I asked other families, did you hear that conversation? Yes. And when you really think about it, did you hear anybody talk about slavery in your family? Some people say yes, some people say no. So we know which way to go to look in the census.
Yeah.
Everybody came a different route.
Yeah.
When you go to the census and you start looking at the histories, one thing about the colonizer, they kept good records.
Facts.
Okay, because
know
it was
they
about
did.
their dollars.
They really did.
So we can go and research the records that the colonizers had, and now we're able to see who was responsible. And now, fortunately, we're coming to a time when we can hold people accountable.
Yeah.
But the main thing is holding yourself accountable and not have a victim-based mentality. Hold yourself accountable, do your research, and then take benefit. There's many benefits for identifying yourself in the proper culture.
And we're cutting close to our end here. This is such a deeper
Sorry, this was so
conversation. No, but I wanted to make sure that I ask you and I input here the identification, right? There's so many benefits to identifying.
That's right.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? I know it goes in so deep, but
Wow,
maybe
it
like a
is.
sneak peek
Well,
or
I'll
like
tell you what, my website is Powhatan Chi Amaru. That's Powhatan, PAWHATUUNXIAMARU.com. You can reach me on my website. However, reiterate the question, please.
the labeling, the benefits coming to
The benefits
to
of understanding.
identifying.
Well, the number one benefit that you can think of is that there's no taxation on indigenous persons or native to America. And if you can verify that information, that you shouldn't be paying taxes. And that's in the Constitution of this country. You know?
Thank you.
So that's one major benefit. And there's benefits also to educate your children. There's monies there. But if you're a misnomer and you're stuck in pride and saying something just because you're used to saying it, and we're looking for, something from somewhere that is not going to come, there's a system in place. If we utilize it, we can be successful.
That's wonderful. And you really do. I know you help people identify as Indigenous and go through the process too.
Yes.
Like if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
want to reap those benefits, like you do help people.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
It's an entirely legal process. It is a beautiful process that you get to learn about yourself, your family, your history. And then if just one person in a family would come forward and say, hey, I'm going to do the research, you can help so many people in your family.
Cool.
You know, and you can have the questions for when your children come and ask you, Mommy, Daddy, who am I? You can tell them who they are, you know, in
think that's
every
so fun.
facet of who they are.
Yeah.
Not being lost, not being a ghost, not being seen in the society.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much for coming on. And,
It's my pleasure.
you know, tomorrow's Indigenous Peoples Day, and I
Yes.
say in parentheses, and every day, because,
That's right.
you know, even Hispanic Heritage Month, having 1 month to celebrate us, like life is a celebration every day, and that's how we should live. So
That's right.
if you're Indigenous, if you identify as Hispanic, you know, whatever you may identify as, it's
right.
your day every single day.
That's
It's
true.
not limited to 1 month or 1 day or what the US of A, you know, tells you that it's your day. So just remember that. Thank you so much, Powhatan, for coming on. Thank you to
pleasure.
Daisy and Eli. Thank you to everyone who's been on today. Thank you to Open Stage. Thank you to YPOC for being on this, for being in making this show a reality. So thank you so much, and feliz mes de la herencia hispana. See you soon.
Call 911. I'm just gonna apply some pressure, okay?
When minutes matter, you have the power to save a life. Learn more at minutesmatter.upmc.com.
Last lap around the world. Thank you so much for being present for the last 3 episodes of the Hispanic Heritage Month special. Thank you so much to the Black NewsBeat. Thank you so much to the Black NewsBeat, to Dr. Kimeka Campbell, to Open Stage for welcoming me as their guest host. This is a special month to me. Obviously, I am from Ecuador. I'm a Latina. I identify as Indigenous Andean mountain woman too. And so, you know, at the root of all of this, I want to make sure we reiterate being Latina, being Hispanic looks different to everybody. It expresses itself differently. However you enjoyed this month, however you enjoy your life every single day, your culture, your traditions, your family, that's on you, you know, your responsibility and your like duty to express that to the world and give that to everybody, so that everybody doesn't put us in a box and make us into a monolithic people as well. Feliz mes de la herencia hispana. YPOC and Raíces Creativas has our last 3 events. Friday, Central PA's first Latino improv group launches at the Hit Theater here in Harrisburg Improv Theater at 7 p.m. on Friday. Saturday, we have our traditional healing and wellness circle with Vanessa Codorniu at Source Creative Space, which is right across the river in New Cumberland. And then on Sunday, we have the real closing of Hispanic Heritage Month, Café con Pan Part 2 at Source Creative House. Make sure you come out to those 3 events this weekend. Celebrate Hispanic culture with us. And one quick shout out before we leave, comedian, local Dominicano comedian, Franklin Rivera is headlining a show at the Orioles Comedy Club in Lebanon, PA on November 15th. I might want to go to that myself. He is one of the comedians that is on the Latino improv group that is showcasing in 2 days, mi gente. Feliz mes de la herencia hispana. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye. Till next time.
You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like life, I'll rise.
I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless.